I am always intimidated by two things when I get in Barry White's company. I used to be intimidated by your size, but you've disappeared. Well, you lost a lot of weight.
Not many soul musicians love to live an extravagant lifestyle, splashing millions on exotic mansions, flashy cars, and big parties. Some learn to live modest lives, reinstating that spending recklessly does not make you a good musician, but the depth of impact you bring to your world with the way you live. From curtailing their expenses to spending less on jewelry, these soul legends lived below their net worth. Join me, and let's review 15 soul legends that lived like they are poor. Number 15. Marvin Gaye. The dexterity of this soul legend, Marvin Gaye, is lovable on many grounds. He started off as an underdog and maintained that formidable status until he was celebrated by all and sundry. Born Marvin Pence Gaye Jr. on April 2, 1939, he was an American singer, songwriter, musician, and record producer who loved his craft to the core, particularly about bringing healing to a downcast world with his peaceful lyrics. He was a major sponsor of the mind-blowing feats that the 1960 Motown records brought to the music world. Even as a solo artist, he paved the way for new school soul singers by attempting to break records that once looked unsurmountable. Notable for his song Sexual Healing in 1982, he was a recipient of the most prestigious Grammy Awards. However, just as he had everything at his disposal, his lifestyle was a pure proof of frugality, calculated expenses, and modesty. He never saw his success as a means of throwing fortunes with no iota of precision and need. He never spent money on unnecessary jewelry. In fact, he was purely comfortable with the way he lived, even with the millions he had to his name. Up until he was shot by his father, he portrayed a life worthy of emulation, as his investments were seen as leverage to help those who were in dire need of a helping hand. Just to buttress who he was clearly, there have been several attempts to adapt Gaye's life story into a feature film. In February 2006, it was reported that Jesse L. Martin was to portray Gaye in a biopic titled Sexual Healing, named after Gaye's 1982 song of the same name. The film, which was supposed to have been directed by Lauren Goodman, was an attestation to the fact that Gaye's life was an inspiration to many, not just about his music, but how he lived a life of perfection. Number 14. R. Kelly. The world of soul music, as historians put it, is what it is today because some soul legends decided to go all out for what they love doing the most. R. Kelly, from an overall standpoint, is one soul singer who, at the slightest pitch of his voice, can literally connect with goosebumps to his soul-lifting lyrics. Born Robert Sylvester Kelly on January 8, 1967, he is an American singer, songwriter, and record producer. His impact in the diversified world of music has since earned him the title of the King of Pop Soul. Kelly began his successful performances in the subway under the Chicago L tracks, and from there, he was fully recognized as an A-list singer all over the world. During his peak as a recording artist, Kelly rolled out some spectacular songs that were archives from his 18 albums. Hit singles like I Believe I Can Fly, Bump and Grind, Your Body's Callin', and If I Could Turn Back the Hands of Time were part of the train of songs that rang a bell in the hearts of listeners. Without mincing words, he is among the top soul legends that inked their names in the Guinness World Records. In spite of all these achievements, Kelly was still not interested in spending recklessly. Instead, he was particular about touching lives positively. He lived in one of the modest homes in America, even though he had more than enough to get any luxury of his kind. Despite having a taste for good things, he didn't deem it fit to spend on unnecessary luxury that adds no meaning to his life. He is committed and passionate about positively touching lives through his charity projects. In 2010, Kelly penned the song Sign of a Victory for the FIFA World Cup, with all proceeds benefiting African charities. These and more are some of his selfless works, which show that he wasn't about gold chains and Rolex watches, but a life of impact. Despite the many controversies surrounding his life, you cannot totally write off his good deeds and philanthropies. Number 13. Toni Braxton. It may sound a bit weird, but do you know that Toni Braxton, as rich as she is, has never gone all out on luxury to prove her worth? Braxton, whose music has helped shape the direction of soul music as of today, is in every way worth several million, but yet she chose a decent life. How is this possible? Well, let's see how she does it. Born Toni Michelle Braxton on October 7, 1966, she is an award-winning American singer, songwriter, actress, and television personality who has sold over 70 million records worldwide. and holds the record as one of the best-selling female artists in history. Braxton's career started off in the late 1980s, where she began performing with her sisters in the R&B group The Braxtons, and within a few years, she rose to prominence performing on world-renowned stages. As a solo artist, she released her self-titled album in 1993, which spawned international hit singles like Another Sad Love Song and Breathe Again. Amidst all her achievements as an artist, Braxton also holds a specialty in modesty now. Why is that so? Despite being one of the most celebrated artists at some point, Braxton ran into debt because of the issues surrounding her at the moment. After she was diagnosed with microvascular angina, her insurance company refused to cover the cost of the next concerts, leading to an expensive legal battle. While Braxton's lawsuit against the insurance company was ultimately settled out of court, she was left with between $10 million and $50 million in debts, according to her bankruptcy filing. It was really a bad time for the singer walking through that course of life as friends and close associates deserted her. However, she managed to pay off her debts and has since been living a life of modesty. Number 12. Isaac Hayes. Stating the obvious, Isaac Hayes was one hell of a genius when it comes to soul singing and other related activities intertwined in soul music. He was not just your regular guy, but one whose presence speaks volumes in terms of influence and heartfelt impact. Born Isaac Lee Hayes Jr. on August 20th, 1942, he was an American singer, songwriter, composer, and actor. He was one of the creative forces behind the Southern soul music label Stax Records in the 1960s. When he no longer saw a future with the group, he parted ways and continued his recording spree as a solo artist. He released several successful soul albums, such as Hot Buttered Soul and Black Moses. Just as he was outstanding in musical affairs, he was also effective as a film composer. Hayes wrote the musical score for the film Shaft in 1971, which made him receive an Academy Award for Best Original Song. As funny as it might sound, Hayes's finances were set aside for charitable works. To him, he had always believed that having the world to yourself when people are struggling to survive does not make you a better person, but one who is insensitive to other people's pain. He founded the Isaac Hayes Foundation in 1999 and was crowned a chief in Ghana for his humanitarian work. His unreserved passion for seeing that people have a good life streamlined his finances to only what is relevant. Number 11. Ron Isley. Born Ronald Isley on May 21, 1941, he plays various roles as a singer, songwriter, and record producer. Wired with an excellent mentality, he has since learned to intertwine excellence in everything he does, including his music. Isley, who was the third of 6 brothers, is the lead singer and founding member of the family music group, the Isley Brothers. Isley began singing at age 2 in the church, and from there, his career blossomed to a formidable one of what we know today. In 1959, Isley and his brothers released their debut single, Shout, after landing a major deal with RCA Records. In 2011, Ronald recorded a solo album, Here Am I, Bacharach Meets Isley, with Burt Bacharach. After that album's release, he became a sought-after hook singer for R. Kelly, Warren G., Tupac, and UGK. Though he made a name for himself, his career was plunged into the mud indefinitely, and he went bankrupt. Subsequently, he lived like he had never gathered anything from the limelight. In 2006, he was convicted of tax evasion charges of $3,100,000 and sentenced to 3 years imprisonment. After his release, he sold some of his valuables just to pay off his debts, and thereafter, life has not been what it used to be, but he has learned to manage it that way. Number 10. Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson, who held a dual title as King of Pop and pure demonstrator of soul music, was one legend who, at the slightest glimpse of his person, would make you fall in love with him. Born Michael Joseph Jackson on August 29, 1958, he was an American songwriter and singer who had a trademark of incorporating dance moves into his performances. Known as one of the most significant figures of the 20th century, his 4-decade career was blessed with several world achievements. Notable for his dancing moves, he popularized the famous moonwalk, which has now become a global phenomenon. Jackson achieved solo stardom with the release of his 5th studio album, Off the Wall, in 1979. He followed it up with Thriller in 1982, which propelled him to the forefront of soul music and helped revolutionize the music video medium. Inasmuch as Michael, with all his assets and investments, was never carried away by the trappings of fame, he lived a simple life that, at some point, many thought was crazy. One time, he left his estate in Neverland and camped at his studio in Grouse Lodge, reinstating that material possessions never for once moved him. He cared so much for the less privileged and did everything possible to lend a helping hand. Jackson's early charitable work has been described by the Chronicle of Philanthropy as having paved the way for the current surge in celebrity philanthropy. Throughout his lifetime, he donated about $500 million worth of charitable funds just to buttress his stance on what life should be. His song, Heal the World, as of today, remains an anthem that passes the message that you should do your bit as a person and not totally discredit your personality. Number 9. Tion Watkins. Without mincing words, Tion Watkins, in all ramifications, is deserving of every honor she receives as a soul musician. Having worked hard to the top, she has now become a force you can easily identify with any day, any time. Born Tion Tenise Watkins on April 26, 1970, she is popularly known by her stage name, T-Boz. Watkins's breakthrough into the hearts of soul music lovers can be traced back to the 1990s when she was a member of the girl group TLC. As a group, they did their bit and surprisingly surpassed many downcasted expectations where they sold more than 65 million records. However, after the group's disbandment, Watkins moved on as a solo artist and released several songs that played a major role in increasing her status as a soul singer. Singles like Touch Myself and My Getaway were popular songs that made waves around the world. In all of her walk to fame, one thing that was special about Tion Watkins was her approach to fame. Contrary to what many soul singers thought, she was a bit indifferent to the enthusiasm to show off her gold necklace, extravagant luxuries, and expensive outfits. Speaking of her style, she once said that her favorite shoes are a good pair of combat boots, and that too many expensive things do not make one a bigger person or less of a person. For a while, she maintained her stance that being simple is priceless, and that if she has to live this way always, so be it. Behind the cameras and off stage, she has never spoken about how much she spends on accessories, noting that it wasn't necessary and that what matters is a life of peace. Number 8. Melanie Brown. Born Melanie Janine Brown on May 29, 1975, she is popularly known as Mel B or Melanie B. She is an English singer, songwriter, television personality, and actress. Brown's prominence to fame came in the mid-1990s as a member of the pop group The Spice Girls, where she was nicknamed Scary Spice. After falling out of the group in 2000, the Spice Girls didn't function in isolation until 2007, when they reunited again and went on to hold 2 tours to make their return. Meanwhile, Mel B debuted as a solo artist in 1998 with the release of I Want You Back, which peaked atop the UK singles chart. She also released other songs to show how grounded she was as a soul singer. Singles like Tell Me, Feels So Good, and For Once in My Life, just to mention a few, were the songs of yesteryears that broke records. In the most explicit expression, Brown was not a spending freak. She had learned from her teenage years that moderation is the key to living an impactful life, and that throwing finances around is not the best way to live. She grew up with this mentality, and when fame came knocking on her door, she didn't give in like a novice. From her living house to her car and dresses, they are all the least of her expenses. Number 7. Billy Joel. Billy is a household name when it comes to the adventure of soul music. Brought up in the pathways of music, he is one of the few musicians who can spin your head with just one night of meeting them. Born William Martin Joel on May 9, 1949, he is an American singer, songwriter, and pianist, nicknamed the Piano Man. Since the 1970s, Billy has had a successful career as a solo artist, and at the same pace, he continued to replicate the influence he had when he started. From 1971 to 1993, he released 12 studio albums spanning the genres of soul, pop, rock, and in 2001 released an all-classical composition. With over 160 million records sold worldwide, he has established a place as one of the world's best-selling music artists and the 4th best-selling solo artist in the United States. After releasing the album Piano Man in 1973, he also has other albums to his name, Street Life Serenade and Turnstiles. Despite having one of the most successful careers, he has shown some physical traits that make people question his financial capability. Getting married 4 times is no joke, as it has not only left him traumatized, but also taken a whole lot from him. From legal battles to prenuptial agreements, he has spent a whole lot and is still yet to recover from his losses. Nowadays, it's easier to differentiate the once fervent Billy and the new Billy. It now seems like everything is falling out very fast, which has forced him to lead a normal life as if he had never been on top before. Number 6. Robin Thicke. The soul music community wouldn't have been complete if the likes of Robin Thicke hadn't emerged. To a commendable degree, he has done his bit to stamp his name on the shores of soul music. Born Robin Allen Thicke on March 10, 1977, he is an American-Canadian singer, songwriter, and record producer. He is best known for his 2013 single Blurred Lines, featuring T.I. and Pharrell Williams. Surprisingly, it peaked atop the Billboard Hot 100 and received Diamond certification by the Recording Industry Association of America. Thicke, who happens to be the son of Gloria Loring and actor Alan Thicke, was discovered by Brian McKnight, and together, they both worked to achieve a better good. Due to his top-notch delivery, he also worked with R&B acts such as Brandy Norwood, Color Me Bad, Brownstone, 3T, Chante Moore, and several others. As a solo artist, he also released several albums including A Beautiful World and The Evolution of Robin Thicke. In the wake of his success, it was easy to spot other attributes that kept him in the limelight. He was a careful spender who didn't mind spending only on important things. From his cars to clothes and houses, he had learned to perfect his life on only what mattered. Several times when he graced interviews, he often kept his lifestyle matters out of the public because he wanted to portray his true character of living a simple life. It truly takes a lot to be this rich and yet choose to live like you have nothing. Only he knows what he saw, as you cannot at this time judge his choice. Number 5. Ed Sheeran. The influx of the new generation of soul singers is obtainable because the likes of Ed Sheeran rejuvenated the quality and depth of soul music that is churned out regularly. Born Edward Christopher Sheeran on the 17th of February, 1991, his record speaks for itself. Sheeran began writing songs at the age of 11, and in early 2011, he independently released the extended play, Number 5 collaboration project. By September 2011, he released his debut album, Plus, which topped the UK Albums Chart. In 2012, he won the Brit Awards for Best British Male Solo Artist and British Breakthrough Act. Ed Sheeran was hungry for success, so he didn't take any break from music as he kept bringing good music back to back. He released his second album, Multiply, and just like that, it topped charts all around the globe in June 2014. By this time, it was already clear that Ed Sheeran was not slowing down a bit. The world was yet to see the wonders he was made of. In 2016, he won the Grammy Awards for Song of the Year and Best Pop Solo Performance for the song Thinking Out Loud. However, despite having all it takes to shut down a club for multiple nights, he chose to live like one of those regular guys. Flaunting his money or trying to impress people is out of the book for him, and surprisingly, he doesn't care about fashion too much. Give him a pair of jeans and a t-shirt, and watch him still do what he is known for. Unlike many other soul singers, he doesn't travel with too many bodyguards, just one or two, so he could comfortably relate with his fans during meet and greets. Number 4. Dolly Parton. The younger generation of soul music can now speak up, thanks to the sacrifice of great singers who didn't mind if their blood was spilled trying to popularize soul music. Dolly Parton, who represents a role model for upcoming generations in all ramifications, is one of the best soul and country musicians the world has produced in the last decades. Born Dolly Rebecca Parton on January 19, 1946, she functions as a singer, songwriter, musician, actress, and philanthropist. After she had made a name for herself writing other people's songs, Parton took a bold step and released her debut album in 1967 with Hello, I'm Dolly. After laying the foundation for her upliftment, she went on to release 49 studio albums in a career that has spanned up to 60 years. Indeed, she deserves to be called the legend of soul music, not only because she sings well, but also because she has been consistently dropping hits since she was young. In her relatable career, Parton has composed over 3,000 songs, including I Will Always Love You, Coat of Many Colors, and 9 to 5. As an actress, she also starred in the movie The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas in 1982. Despite all her success, Dolly never allowed money to influence her negatively. Surprisingly, after getting married to her husband, they both lived in a small cabin for many years, even though she had millions of dollars to buy a luxurious mansion. Consistently, she is seen going to work in stores, and to everyone's shock, she is not all about buying expensive jewelry. With all the money she has, she still cooks for herself and is also known for her charitable works. including a library that gives free books. Unlike several musicians who didn't give a damn about giving back, Dolly has shown that money is truly a waste if those in need cannot benefit. Number 3. Leonard Cohen. Born Leonard Norman Cohen on September 21, 1934, he was a Canadian songwriter, singer, poet, and novelist. After starting a career as a poet and novelist during the 1950s and early 1960s, he began his musical career in 1966. His first album, Songs of Leonard Cohen, was released in 1967, followed by 3 more albums. Cohen's musical journey was a display of talent, ambition, and determination, as it kept reflecting on his songs over and over again. In 1984, Cohen released his most famous song, Hallelujah, which was a part of his 7th album, Various Positions. As the days went by, Cohen didn't show any sign of gassing out. He continued breaking barriers with his music, and in 2001 he released 10 new songs, which were major hits in Canada and Europe. However, despite making millions from music, he didn't opt for an expensive mansion or luxurious cars. Instead, he spent his money frugally, channeling all his passion to art. One time he went to a monastery in California and lived as a Buddhist so he could free himself from the facade of fame. He was humble to a fault, and that reflected on his person in everything he did. Cohen was not a man who liked showing off. He spent his money on charitable projects, and in all honesty, that brought him fulfillment. Number 2. Adele. The new invention in soul music is listenable today because Adele came with a different pattern that made it desirable and tempting at first instance of hearing. She knew all it takes to pull a stunt through soul music, and with her soothing voice it became even easier. She was born Adele Laurie Blue Adkins on May 5, 1988. Adele is an award-winning singer widely known for her mezzo-soprano vocals that strike a chord in the ears of listeners and fans. After graduating from the Brit School in 2006, Adele, burning with a passion for music, signed a recording deal with XL Recordings, which ushered her into a career of limitless possibilities. She released her debut album, 19, in 2008, where she showed that she wasn't short of writing skills but was perfectly skilled at what she does. Singles from the album were included in the UK Top 5 singles, including Chasing Pavements and Make You Feel My Love. Just when we thought she was going to slow down a little, Adele further proved that she has come to stay in the soul music industry. In 2011, Adele released her second studio album, 21, and to everyone's greatest surprise, it became the world's best-selling album of the 21st century, and ever since, Adele has not stopped putting soul music on the world map. Aside from making good music, Adele is one singer you can't help but love because of how modestly she carries herself. Even with all the millions to her name, her life is as simple as spelling one's name. In interviews, Adele has always affirmed that all she cares about is living a quiet life and that following trends is a huge turnoff for her. How she sees herself has curtailed her spending habits. Her approach to fame reminds us that one can still remain humble and live a fulfilled life rather than flashing wealth at every corner of your house. Number 1. Paul McCartney. The journey of soul music for Paul McCartney didn't start today. It began when he recognized that the world was waiting for what he had to offer. Because he has the gift built in him, he made good use of his talent, bridging the gap between soul and pop music. Born James Paul McCartney, he is an English singer, songwriter, and musician who gained worldwide fame with the Beatles, for whom he played bass guitar and piano. Paul McCartney is known for his melodic approach to bass playing and how he combines several other genres to make powerful soul music. He began his career when he joined Lennon's skiffle group, the Quarrymen, in 1957, which evolved into the Beatles in 1960. After the Beatles disbanded, Paul McCartney rolled up his sleeves as a solo artist and went on to break records with his style of soul music. In 1970, he debuted his album McCartney as a solo artist. In the same year, he formed the band Wings, and under his leadership, they became one of the most successful bands in the US. He wrote and co-wrote some of their biggest hits, including My Love, Band on the Run, Listen to What the Man Said, Silly Love Songs, and Mull of Kintyre. McCartney has written or co-written 32 songs that have topped the Billboard Hot 100, and he is not bound to stop in case it becomes a necessity. McCartney can be stinking rich, yet he has decided to maintain a quiet lifestyle that doesn't flaunt his level of affluence. While others spend their money on expensive sports cars and gold watches, Paul is rather cautious about how he lets a dime roll out of his wallet. Surprisingly, when McCartney goes shopping, he constantly looks for discounts, showing his best side indefinitely. With all the billions that he is worth, you would never find McCartney hopping on a private jet. Instead, he prefers flying economy so that he could save some money. McCartney's frugal lifestyle didn't come by default. All he did was what he learned while growing up, as his father constantly taught him the importance of savings. One would think that with everything he is worth, he would spend on designer shoes. Well, McCartney prefers going for simple clothing and never thought he was less of a person. He purely demonstrated that happiness is a thing of the heart and not a function of material possessions. Which of these soul legends do you love for the way they lived, and what was your deciding factor for making that choice? Please let us know in the comments, and don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel.